Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome along. I'm getting serious Wipeout vibes from that tune, whatever it is.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Now. Oh, I still have audio on here. I'm getting echoes. Okay. What else do we need to do? That music's probably a bit loud. Let's turn that down a bit. Oh yeah, sure. What else would you be doing on a Tuesday night? So, let me know if that music is too loud or too quiet, or what you think of that. But hopefully that's all right. What is going on here? Oh, what is going on here? This is weird. Sorry. I see what's happened. Yeah, there we go. Better. There we go. No echo anymore. You probably didn't get the echo, but I got echoes. Okay, now. So, yeah, welcome along again. I have had a grand total of, I'd say, 10 minutes of looking at the MUI stuff that we were talking about last week. So, a little recap is probably in order. Okay. Hey, 07 Ivrig. How are things? Obscure elite references there for anyone who's the uninitiated few amongst you. Let me see. This one. Let's see. This is where we were last week. Or yeah, it was last week, wasn't it? It was last Tuesday. Yay! Yeah, let's say it's a regular thing. I don't know if it's going to work out that way, but sure, we'll see. Okay. Right. So where are we? We had this thing. Let's just see if this works even. Let's give it a run and see if we switch on it. Oh, there's a funny little bug there. When you start up Blitz sometimes. Yeah. Oh yeah, I am in a red shirt, but engineering division gives me at least a fighting chance. There we go. Yeah, so our program still works. The code hasn't deteriorated over the week, so that's good. So we'll do a quick little recap on this just to catch everyone up. Basically, I know it even remembered our window size and our position and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of cool. So, hey, no, you didn't miss much. You didn't miss much. I was just pointing out that while I am wearing a red shirt, it's from the engineering division. And so I'm more likely to survive a fight because yeah. Scotty wore a red shirt. Anyways, there you go. But yeah, no, you haven't missed anything important at all. And yeah, sure, it's only 5 minutes in. There's never anything important in the first 5 minutes. It's usually just talking shite and trying to remember what I was doing the last time. Yeah, and speaking of which, there we go. This is our program from the last time. It still works. For people who haven't really looked at Blitz before, I can show you some features of the debugger here. If we click stop here, nothing's actually going to happen because the program's actually suspended. If you remember before, our event loop has a wait event here, you see? So basically the program's actually asleep, so it won't trigger the debugger until it gets an event. See, so when I click on the window, it got an event. And now you can see our debugger is awake, our program's dead, and we can see here basically where in the code we are. So yeah, see, it was stopped at the wait event until we pressed stop, and then it stepped on. So this is quite cool, and it's something that is difficult to do with the debugger in when you shut down the OS for games programming, but for system-friendly programming, it's actually a really cool debugger. So there's the standard stuff. You can step along, and you basically, because that event was a non-event or not an event that we're interested in, it just skipped to the end of the loop, and goes back to where we are again. And you can see there that now it's stuck at the wait event. So those two events were basically window activated and window deactivated. And they just got flushed because we're not interested in them. So if we trigger an event like that, you can see it slowed down and went through the loop, and it actually did print something up here. So we seem to have pressed step a lot there. I don't know what happened there. Oh, did I press trace instead? Anyways, right, so let's stop it again. Okay, we've stopped there. Normally you step through one at a time, but I guess, yeah, it's slightly buggy debugger. But the trace button here lets you run the program, you know, without pausing, and you can see the flow of the program there. So when we press a button, it will. Oh, let's move this window to the front just so we can see it a bit better. Running nice and fast because it's an emulator, of course. But yeah, when we press a button, you can see it runs through the main loop. Yeah, and then we can click run to sort of switch off the trace and get it running again. So it is quite powerful. I don't know why the step is just continuing to step there. It might be something to do with how MUI events are handled. I don't know. But I'll just show you another little thing here. So you see we're getting our output there, and our -1 event is quit. So that's fine. We can put in a stop here. And the stop command triggers the debugger. And you can also see up here we get a breakpoint here. So up again, if you haven't used Blitz or Amiga Blitz before, up here we get our program labels. So you can click on them to jump straight to that point. Now obviously our code isn't that big, but you know, let's say you're up here. There's our breakpoint, and it'll jump to the line of that. So we can put in labels like a program, like main loop label there, just to have a label. You don't have to use it for anything to jump to it, but you can use that for the address of the code if you're doing funky assembly stuff, or include, you know, if you've got a binary chunk in it or something like that that you've added there, you can give the address there, or you can just use it as, you know, just to give yourself a reference point here. So if we're up here and we want to, oh, I need to go to the main loop, you can click that and you're at the main loop. So so if we run that with the debugger on, and as soon as we get an event, we can see here the program flow stopped here just at the stop, and then we can press trace and it'll run through, and then we can press again and it will stop at the same point each time. So yeah, it's quite cool to watch the visualization of it there, and you can also use a trace. Oh yeah, sorry, I did mention that already, the trace thing, and it'll run to the next one. Okay, we've clicked that, and yep. Oh, and stopped again, so we can trace it again. So stop is the same as pressing stop here. And you can also skip a command. So we're here, and if we want to skip that particular command and not print, obviously skipping a select is going to do funky things, but you know, so we can have it so it didn't actually print out the message there, the event code. But yeah, it's quite handy. It is actually quite a decent debugger when it works. We can trace variables. So let me see. How do we? Let me see. Add a trace, and the variable name. And we don't have many variables in this, but we'll look at EV, and it's a long variable. These are the variable types. Maybe I should talk about the variable types. I'll do that in a second. But for now, we know that's a long variable. So we've got a little trace window there. So if we go and we do our trace, when there's an event, you can see event is 0, and you can, as the program's running, well, I've shot myself in the foot with that stop command now. But you can see that the variable value changes as the code is running. And again, it's quite a useful tool. That it is very useful. You can also look at memory and registers and things like that. I remember at some point I was talking about this before on a previous stream, and the memory windows were a bit funky to get running. But yeah, that's it. But they're fine. yeah, there's some pretty cool features there. You can disable jumping to procedures and go subs, so that if your main loop, if you don't care about the procedures inside, you can skip them altogether. But yeah, there you go. That's some handy. There's some handy stuff there for debugging, and especially, like I say, when it's system friendly, it's a lot more useful, because when the OS is shut down, you have to jump out of that to go back, and then it's messy. You can't see what you're doing really. And sometimes it doesn't really let you jump back into the program sometimes, and it causes problems. So, but yeah, there you go. I find it quite useful. There are plenty of other ways to debug as well, but yeah, that's a good one. And especially if you get yourself into a deadlock of some sort, you can stop your program, or you can quit the program by using the debugger as well. Now, so what were we going to do? Yeah, never debug games. Absolutely. Well, there are ways of debugging that, especially with WinUAE, you can get it to output debugging information that you can see in the WinUAE console, which is actually very useful. Because because the OS is shut down, you can't just like switch over to a screen that has an output shell window or anything like that. The Blitz manual, it gives you a description of each of those buttons, but it doesn't cover it all that well. And to be honest, the Blitz manual, I like it, but more as a sort of a basic reference rather than a manual as such. It doesn't really walk you through a lot of the stuff. It just kind of said, this is what they do, and you're on your own. And yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag really. But yeah, no, it's decent. It's a decent debugger. Yeah, there's I actually made some code. It's in the Blitz Basic Discord somewhere. And there are a couple of functions that you use to write to a special WinUAE register. And when you write to that register, it outputs it to the WinUAE shell, which is very cool. And it's a really good way of debugging when you've got the OS shut down. It works really well. But there's some absolute nonsense in there. But yeah, so the WinUAE debugger does that. There are a couple of steps to enabling that in WinUAE. You have to have a particular virtual piece of hardware set up, and it reserves a memory area for this procedure. But yeah, it's worth it looking up. I'll have to dig out the info again on the Discord. Right, but yeah. So what were we going to do? We were going to look at images and some other gadgets and things. So we'll have a go at the images. I'm not sure if this is going to work. I very quickly put an image in the folder or in the drawer for this. I also moved it to a different folder, didn't I? Or did I? Projects. Ugh. I think. Let me see. I think it's in there somewhere. Did I? Oh yeah, we got a little icon image here. Yeah, that's an important point to note, that it probably will find its way into FSUAE, but at the moment is a WinUAE special trick. Oh yeah. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck. I don't know how much of the code you do actually have there, but I haven't really changed anything since last week. I probably should have uploaded the file. Sorry. You know what? I'm gonna copy and paste the file into. No, where will I put it? I'll save it to somewhere. Yeah, I remember you saying that. All right, yeah. It was a good job. Did you stick a release of that anywhere, or do anything like that? New break? No. Save as. That's what I picked. Yeah. Okay. So the first time you read a... fair enough. The first time you read a big busy directory on the host computer, it crawls a bit. Where did I put it? Streaming. I'll put this as I'll leave it as .av3. It's still a text file, but yeah, and I'll stick that on the Discord. Which Discord will I put this in? The Blitz Basic Dev Discord. Are you on that, Judge Grooveman? I think you are. Or are you? No, I think it's probably a bit more relevant there anyway. So bear with me just a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Maybe stream test. Where we put this? Yeah. Okay. Okay, there we go. It's on the Blitz Basic Discord, just in case anyone wants it. Oh, there you go. Yes. There we are.
Excellent.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks, Nivrik. Good lad. Yeah. Okay, now I will, yeah, okay, back to MUI here. Let's see what's happening. Okay, so now you have, at least you have the code, the exact code that I have here. Oh, there were a couple of other, yeah, there was another thing I was going to do first off. We've got, hey, I'm Immortal, welcome along. One of the Scottish user group massive. What was it? Oh, yeah, we're going to take out the stop. The comment in Blitz Basic, I think I said it before, as a semicolon. So now when we run this, switch on. It's a weird bug with the Blitz 3.8. Yeah, I think it's been fixed in later ones. No, not at all. Where sometimes when the debugger is switched on, it's actually doesn't show up here, but it's on. It's definitely on there now anyway. So we have our program running, and it will show up as a commodity with Control-Alt-Help and stream test. But we see here we've got nothing in the description. You can set a description. I'm going to do that now. There are a whole heap of commands for setting up the application. Thanks, I guess. I'm not. I know they don't, Zuperdan. But it's kind of a. I think it's a very easy thing to add. I think it's kind of like part of the. Well, it's either part of the Blitz implementation or part of the MUI library itself to just have that as an option. And whenever you do it in Blitz, it does show up as a commodity. Now, I vaguely remember switching that off for a program, so I just can't remember how I did it. It might be that you just don't set any of these. But anyways, I was going to show you that there are, see these guys here. You can set, what do we have? Application title, application version, application copyright, application author, and application description. Stick that in there, and you put that in there. What else was there? I don't know how much of this will actually show up, but we can give it a go. I don't know if you do that. Something like that. Anyway, let's just see what that looks like. We're going to save that, and oh, I actually meant to save it back into my Nope, not that one. Where was it? Where did I put it? Oh, Blitzstream. Nope, Blitzstream 2. Okay, there we go. Now let's run this, see what it looks like. There's our program up and stream test. Oh. Why is that now? Application description. Build that. Okay. I don't know. I don't know why that is. But since we're in emulation, what I'm going to do is going to reboot. Just because that'll annoy me. And it should be quite quick to do this. Give me a second. Does that count as a crash? No, that doesn't count as a crash. Well, the About menu, you have to kind of add yourself. This is one file templates. I have a feeling it's just cached that stuff in memory. Like it might have just needed. There we go. It might have just needed to quit Exchange and restart it. Because I suppose a program doesn't really change its information. But yeah, so that's that. So you can see the description comes up there. You can get some like other versions of Exchange, like third-party ones that have more information in here. Yeah, that's it. But you can also hide and show the interface, which is pretty cool. It does the same thing as Iconify. And active inactive, it does send an event, and basically commodity events are sort of a special type of event, but your program has to act on that. So it's up to your program what active and inactive means, because that might just mean that it stops its TCP connection or something like that. You know, it doesn't. There's no overall meaning for active and inactive, but your program gets an event, and you can decide to switch off your graphics updates or whatever. You know, switch off your sound. And then, yeah, remove will give it the quit command. But yeah, that's quite cool. And you kind of get that for free doing MUI stuff. Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, so that's what it looks like. I'm going to switch off the debugger. It's generally a good idea to keep the debugger switched on, actually. But just for this, I'll add 2 seconds. Hello? Night, night.
Can I just show you something quickly?
No.
Quickly. Really quickly.
Oh, okay. I'll be back in a second. He was never going to go away unless I indulged him. Yeah. yeah. No, it's I'd already lost that battle once he'd knocked on the door. So yeah, there you go. Anyways. I am taking part in the Blitz Jam, although I have yet to write a single line of code. Oh, let's put that in the chat. This is kind of in aid of the Zuperdan's Blitz Basic, or not, so sorry, Zuperdan's Amiga Tool Jam, which is a game jam, but for non-games, if that makes sense. So basically, you've got a few months to write an application for the Amiga. It doesn't have to be in Blitz. I'm just doing it in Blitz because I like it, and I'm kind of I'm doing these streams just to show that it's possible to write applications in Blitz, and yeah, but yeah, it's any language. C is kind of like the go-to for most Amiga applications, I would say. Yeah, and all the all the OS documentation is in kind of C friendly format, and you know, all the examples tend to be C. Yeah. I have a feeling you're never going to stop asking about that. Andrew wants me to come up with a mechanism for popping out a small LCD screen on his A1200, which is doable, but a hell of a lot of work and too much work, basically. And he's just going to keep on about it until I finally give in, I think. But no, I have no time. I have no time for such a big project. Well, I actually have two ideas, and I'm going to enter the most useless tool category as myself. I know I have an idea for that, and I have an idea for an actual possibly useful tool that's been banging around my head for a while, but I haven't started either of them. So I will yeah. Jesus, don't you start. But yes, so I will yeah, I'll have to get started on them at some point. I just need the time and need to get through a million different things that are sitting on my desk at the moment. But yeah, but yes, I'm going to have two entries. Well, I'm definitely going to have one entry. You might be quicker. Yeah, you might be quicker learning to do it yourself. I'll help you out with all the with the Solus GPIOs, because you can use them for controlling your motors and stuff. But yeah, there you go. But anyways, yeah. So I will have at least one entry, and hopefully two. And yes, definitely. Oh yeah, no, what was I going to do? Yeah, absolutely derailing my train of thought there. Right, so we were going to look at an image, and we're going to stick an image in this interface somewhere. So we've got our groups. Oh, you know what I'll do before I do that? Before we get more complicated, you can see some MUI applications. They have nice kind of borders that separate the groups. You know, they're kind of like, you know, they separate them into sections and they give a little title. I will. Yeah, I meant to do that the last time. I was going to do that the last time, and I forgot. And now I'm trying to remember how to do it. I can look up some code. I have some code from other applications that I can dig into if I need to. But basically, what you need to do is you need to set the properties of the group to give it a border. So if we look at our horizontal group, for example, we've got our buttons here. So there's our two buttons. You can see them there, left button and right button. And our group has the ID of button group. So what we'll do is we'll change the properties of the button group to give it a border. And that we do that by doing, we have it up here, MUI add tags. So this adds to the tag list of the button group. And then we give it the tag and the value that we need to add. And I can't remember the tag. It is, it's going to be, yeah, I can't remember. Let me look that up for a second. Dun. I'll throw the link in here as well for anyone who wants to look at the MUI documentation. There it is in its glorious 90s HTML. It's a beautiful thing. And I think if you were to measure that, you'd probably even find it's about 640 pixels wide. It's sitting way over on the left-hand side of my monitor anyway. Amazing. Okay, so a group. So let me see. The group have group active page. No, let me see. So, oh, 566. Yeah, so it probably is for old school browsers that open on a 640 wide screen and have a chunk of stuff down the sides. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Oh, where is the border? Sorry, this is terrible viewing, I'm sure. I don't see it. So I'm looking at the group attributes and I can't see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And because especially back then, like, you know, browsers, most modern applications go sort of edge to edge, but an Amiga browser back in the day, and presumably this was written for iBrowse and the likes, they have the window border, and then they have a little border, and then they have the custom class in the middle that displays the HTML. So you lose about 10 pixels either side, and then you've got your scroll bar, and then you've got your content. So yeah, so it gives it a bit of a comfortable set for that. And because Amiga didn't have maximize back then, so you know, quite often I'd say people didn't have it at full screen either. But yeah, I'd imagine it's something to do with that. Now, I'm going to have to open another bit of code just to find this thing, this property. Where, oh, it's probably in area, is it, rather than area? Area frame. No, area frames for making buttons and things. Area. No, it's group. I'm sure of it. Okay, sorry about this. Let's go and look at some old code of mine. Let me see, what do we have? What do we have? No, I don't have anything in there actually because I don't. This is my source development machine. What do we have? See all my secrets now. Yeah, the SMB mounter MUI version probably has it. Now, loads of stuff. Look at that. Are there groups? Edit window. Jesus, maybe it doesn't have them. But there's some fun stuff in here that we can go through in a while. But it doesn't have borders on the groups. Try into something else. What else was there? This one definitely does. This is a big lot of code. 150 kilobytes of code. Dun, 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 dun. This is a big ass program. Where am I even? There we go. Now. Tags. Main group label. Where is it? This is not what I'm looking for. I wrote installer gen. Yes, indeed. In Blitz Basic, no less. And this is it, all 4,700 lines. plus other includes. But where is the bloody group stuff? I can't remember. Tag. Why can't I see it? This is all cycle chain, which is basically the tab order. You know, when you press tab and it goes from gadget to gadget to gadget, you can set that. Let's do that while we're waiting. Copy. So let's do so before this one we'll do add tags string box cycle chain one. We don't want the help string there. That also adds pop-up help and stuff like that, which we're not using yet. But I will undelete that and then undelete that, undelete that. Actually, we've already got to add tags there, so what we'll do is we can just join all them to the same line. And we'll make this number 2 in the chain, and oh sorry, we'll make that number 3 in the chain, and this one number 2, and that's I was saying, oh, shit. What's happened here? Yes, this is what happens when you crash MUI. So the Blitz debugger is excellent, but it depends on the cooperation of the libraries, and the Blitz library, what the hell? Oh, that's why. We've added half a tag, and the compiler didn't catch it because it's legitimate code. So what we've done is we've tagged the button group with the null tag, and that's wiped out a big chunk of it. And now it seems it's stuck. Oh yeah, yes, I wrote installer gen because I was looking for something like it and I couldn't find one, and it annoyed me. It's not that sophisticated, but it will do the kind of the standard stuff quite well, and it lets you put together a lot of steps that will you know, and it'll compile them and it'll put icons with it. It will even create the archive for you if it's all very standard stuff, but just don't 100% trust it. You need to you know, verify it before you publish anything. But yeah, that's it. It does all the basic steps anyway. Now I've got a stuck console. Now I don't know if that's actually a crash. Let's compile it again. We'll get rid of that for a second. Let's compile it again. Let's see. No, there's a crash. Definite hard solid crash. So oh dear. There's our crash counter in. Oh, is our crash counter working? Oh, why did that not work? Let's try again. There we go. Crash counter has crashed. Yeah. No, I just never activated it. So rookie mistake. Okay, yeah, 3 finger salute time. So yes, the debugger is very good at catching stuff where the libraries cooperate. The Blitz command libraries have to cooperate. But once you go outside that, you're kind of on your own. There's only so much it can do, and even if it does catch things, sometimes, you know, it's a bit too late. It's already mauled your memory. But yeah, so the MUI library isn't great, and you can, because it works with tags and stuff like that, like, you know, kind of stuff beyond the OS or beyond Blitz. It's essentially like a wrapper library for the actual MUI library. You're working with all these tags, and it doesn't check whether the tags are legit or not. It just passes them on to MUI, and MUI will crash. It's exactly the same, 100% in C. You'll crash the very same way. And the problem here is that you crash and you also take down Blitz. But yeah, or you take down the debugger with it or something like that. But basically, it if you get tags wrong in C or if you get tags wrong in Blitz, it'll just crap all over your memory. You get null pointers here, there, and everywhere. You get it's a mess in there. Anyways, yeah, this is how Amiga OS works. It's the same even without MUI. If you're dealing with OS libraries, this is just the fact of life. So you can use, there are some debuggers, general like OS programs that will catch bad memory accesses and stuff like that. It's just a fact of life of how the Amiga works. But still keep the Blitz debugger on, because that'll catch the more stupid stuff. GAD tools will do the same, and again, it'll do that whether it's C or Blitz or whatever. If you don't like crashes, then you can use AREX, but that's that is scripting language, and it's beautiful, and it's a lovely language, but it's very different to doing this. You can do GUI stuff with it with some external libraries, but it's quite different. Okay, so this had crashed because we passed it a null tag without an end tag. Button just fell off my keyboard. This was supposedly a very lovely keyboard that was given to me as a gift, and it is shite. About 100 quid's worth of a Logitech gaming keyboard, and it is it's not. This is it, but that's not a crash. We're still only on one crash. Keyboard still works, but it's like the keycaps are cracking along the stems, and I'm sometimes getting phantom key presses and stuff like that. It's just like, what happened, Logitech? What happened? You used to be good, man. Oh well. Okay, enough of that. What was I doing? Oh yes, yeah, we're going to add. We added those tags. This tag broke the system, broke the world. So now we've gotten rid of that. We should be able to compile it. I'm just going to make sure the debugger is on. We got one button, and it's done the same thing, hasn't it? Oh, you bastard! What's happened here? Left button. Wait. 50. Oh, and the left button. I left that tag in there, so we ended up with an additional tag that was unanswered. Tags always have to be in pairs, by the way. So you got a tag. Well, usually there's a tag and a value. Some tags just mean a thing by themselves, but usually it's a tag and a value, and it's like, so if it's a flag, it's either true or false, or it'll be a value like this, or a pointer to a string or something like that. So yeah, so just be careful of your tags. That is going to shit itself now. There we go. Excellent.
Oh dear.
It's gone so much better than the first one. It's okay. This is what happens, and there's another reason to use emulation, because it's nice and quick to start up again. Because this is a heavy system with a lot of stuff on it. Yeah. That reminds me, I was playing, it was a good while ago, but I was playing Among Us with a bunch of friends, and one of them was on the Switch. That's fine. It all cross-played fine with the PC and with my phone, amazingly. It was all, there were 5 or 6 people playing, but one of the lads had a slightly dodgy name. It wasn't anything terrible or anything like that, but it was, we all saw him, but it came up on the Switch as question marks or something like that. We're like, why is just his name? And like the Nintendo version censors names. I just thought this is bizarre, because everything else was absolutely fine, worked perfectly, but just blanked out some of the names. I can't remember what it was now, but it wasn't anything like actually offensive. Just, anyways, there you go. Third time lucky. Let's delete that tag again, because course, it didn't save the last time because it had fallen over. Okay. Oh, get rid of that one. Now we've saved that before we try it. Hey, now the entire interface is there again. Resizing fine. And we should have tab activation. There we go. That's what we were looking at. So when it starts with this one, then that's 2 and that's 3. So you just tell them what order they're supposed to be in. And that's it. So it's a tag that you apply. So you can skip objects because like that label there, that's a separate object to this. But in MUI terms, there's no real difference between the please enter text there and the get text, except that one of them is being given a border and reacts to click, whereas the other one doesn't. But that's just a property that the Blitz library has set for me. You know, if you're doing this in C, you just set an area, give it some text, and tell it that it reacts to a click. So it's, yeah, so basically, you know, you could, in theory, tab to that, but it won't do anything. So yeah, so you just set the actual gadgets that you want to be tabbable. You can give them the property, and it'll cycle between them. So that's quite cool because it's sort of when you're developing these, you automatically, especially if you've got a few text fields, it feels automatic to just tab between them, and so you can just add that flag. So that's an attribute that you give to the object, a cycle chain, and the number there, just what order it's in. Yeah, so we were going to create a group, and yes, that's what I was doing. I'm going to open up my other source. Installer gen. Ooh, let's see. Where is it? Yeah, it's down here. MUI frame. Is that the one? That's for a list view, but I think that might do the same thing for the group. Will it? I genuinely can't remember if installer gen has that group. It would be simpler just to run it. Yeah, it does. Step controls. So see what I mean? These frames around gadgets. Excellent. That's a quality handle. All right, so script steps there. That is what we're looking for. So main step list. No, see, that's adding tags to the actual end list version. Excellent. Step type, enable step type. See, and I can't actually search for the search for that string because it was very funny. Because this uses locale, and so none of the strings are actually in the executable. They get the default strings get compiled in, but that's at compile time rather than now. I can't remember what the tag is called. Oh my god. No, that's not them. Creating main window gadgets. Main label step list. Main group. Button, add tags. Main group step buttons. No. Okay, there, that's it. That's the one I need. Oh, slightly buggy highlighting there, but that's okay. I know it works. Okay, so that's what we need to do. This is another tag, so we're going to add that to the group, to the horizontal group. Sorry about that. And it'll look something like that. So button group. Button group. And we'll add a frame. And now, this is, so we're giving this, So this, we're setting the attribute of the frame attribute for this area, and we're giving it the value. This is a special like magic number value. So MUI V is a value, a frame group, and this that tells you that this style of frame is a group frame. And then we can go on to give it a title, and give it a frame title, and we just give it a string. But now you'll see that this is a slightly funky way of doing it. I'll explain this now in a second, but for now, button group, button group. Let's see if this works. There we go. Why is it? Oh, what's going on here? Why is it vertical now? Button group, frame group. Huh. So we take that out. Our buttons are a horizontal group. Button group, frame, frame group, frame title. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and add those properties afterwards, but before it's drawn, and just see if that works, because it might default to a vertical group, and when I've added the tags, it adds the tags. It messes up the tags that say whether it's vertical or horizontal. I don't know. Let's try that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so sometimes you'll find things like that where the properties have to be added in the correct order. And so if you add it before, it seems to override the tag that's hidden from us in Blitz, but will be there in C. That tells it that it's a horizontal group, and it defaults to vertical. Okay, so you set up the group, and then you can set the tag. And once an object is created, you use MUI set instead of add tags, because the tags are already there. So now you're setting a property of it. Some properties have to be set before the object is created. And that's the case for some of these. Like some of them it doesn't matter, and some of them you can even change them when it's running. Some of them can only be set once. But yeah, so that's what we're doing there. We're setting it after the object has been created, but before the window's drawn. And that gives it the frame. It's already defined as a horizontal group then, and we add on that. Now, I want to talk about the string here. So, in Blitz Basic, a string is treated as a primitive type of variable. So it's like a number. It's kind of treated the same way. It's obviously not. It's a string of separate ASCII values that are stored in memory, but Blitz treats them that way. You can add them. You can, you can do a lot of stuff with them, and they, by and large, they work as a thing, and it does that by having a sort of special string buffer setup that kind of works. It just basically manages it in the background. But this function here, get global string address, that function has been renamed. That is the null function in Blitz 2. Amiga Blitz 3, they changed the name because they added a null function in the core of Amiga Blitz 3. It clashed. Sorry, so the null function in Blitz 2 is part of a third-party library, but it's one of the very common ones, and it was used a lot. And what it does is it takes a string and it gives you a null terminated, a pointer to a null terminated copy of that string. And basically, whenever you're dealing with the OS or whenever you're dealing with an external library like MUI, you don't hand it the string, unlike you do in Blitz, where the Blitz commands all treat them strings like numbers, and treats them as one and the same. So when you're dealing with external stuff like this, you need to give it a pointer to the string. Now you can do that yourself. You can get the pointer to a string. That's no problem. But this is a nice little function that just does it all and neatens it up, so you don't need to deal with pointers. So it's called null in Blitz 2, and it's in one of the Elmore function lib or something like that. It's in one of the third-party libraries. But in Amiga Blitz 3, null is a different thing. It's used for null tags, and so that's a different thing entirely. And because of that, they had to add this function instead. So they renamed the third-party library version to get global string address. So that's one of the very few code compatibilities between the two. But anyways, yeah, so when you're passing to the OS libraries or to an external library like this, you need to give a null terminated string, a pointer to a null terminated string, and this is how you do it. Get global string address. So it's just how it works. You can also do it with pointers. I hate pointers, so I use that. But yeah, you can do a pointer. Like if your variable is x string is equal to my group, and you can do something like you can get the address of the x string variable there. Now the key thing here is that you shouldn't change the contents then, because if it goes back to reference that, you're kind of pulling the rug from under it. So you see there's my group, so that's works kind of the same way. If that makes sense. I said it the last time as well, but yeah, stop me if you, or ask questions away if you need it. But yeah, does that make sense? There are two different ways of doing that, but it's one and the same thing. It's just a neat kind of way of doing it. But it depends on what you're passing in, and sometimes just using that function is neater and simpler. So, dum bum bum. I think I was using that get global string address because, as well as that, I was inserting locale strings there, and so the string was actually changing depending on the locale settings. So when the executable was loaded, the locale string was inserted there, and it's funny, you can't really get dealing with the pointers. Dealing with pointers for that stuff is just like it just gets quite messy quite quickly. So you need to kind of keep a list of the pointers to the things, and I just wasn't bothered. So I think that's why I was using that. But yeah, that's how it's done. Anyway, there you go. And I'm saying pointer. Yeah, it's basically the address of the string. Okay, yeah. So I mentioned there a little while ago about the different types. So Blitz has a load of different variable types, and I said that the event is always a long variable. So you see ev.l. I think I mentioned that in the last stream, but the full reason for that is that you've got different variable types and you need to tell Blitz what you're doing. If you don't tell Blitz, it defaults to the word type, which is a jack of all trades variable. Is not the best at doing anything. Well, some things it's good, but basically a word variable is .w, and it's 16-bit plus 16-bit. So it's basically it's a 32-bit number, which means that it takes two memory accesses to read on the 68,000 CPU. So 68020 and above, it does it in one because they're fully 32-bit CPUs. But on the 68K, like on the A500 and that, it takes it takes longer. If you're doing an awful lot of accessing, it'll take longer to read this number. Now, the reason you would use it is that it also has a decimal section. So the 16-bit integer section, which means plus minus 32,000. All variables are signed in Blitz, by the way. So that means they're all sort of minus and plus versions. So a byte in Blitz is minus 128 to plus 127, I think. Minus 126 to plus 127, whatever way it works out anyway. Minus 128 to plus 127, and so if you need to go to 255, you actually have to use a word. I'm going to go back myself now. I was saying that it defaults to the word type. It doesn't. The word is a 16-bit integer only. So word is just a value between minus 32,000 to plus 32,000. Okay, that's all it is, and that is a 16-bit variable. Sorry, the variable I'm thinking of that it Blitz defaults to is a quick, and it doesn't do anything quickly. So it's kind of a misnomer. So a quick also is like a word variable. It goes from minus 32,000 to plus 32,000, but it also has a 16-bit fraction component. So the full number is 32 bits wide, takes 2 cycles to access. So if you're only using whole numbers, you're wasting that extra 16-bit access. So while you're probably not going to be stuck for 2 bytes of memory, hopefully not, if you make an array with thousands of values, you're going to start pissing away your RAM. And like I said, it takes twice as long to read it if you're on a 68K. So not really concerns for us right now with this kind of stuff, but just worth bearing in mind that the default variable. So if I see it's quick.b equals false there. So if I don't tell it what type of variable it is, it will be a quick type. So which would be .q. So we're going to say .b because a byte is the smallest one. You don't have Boolean in Blitz. But then you've got the word, which is an integer. You've got a long word, which is a 32-bit integer. And then you've got a float, which is a full floating point, full 64-bit floating point. And so that, a floating point number like that will use the... it's a 32-bit floating point number, but it's a proper floating point number, not a quick. So that will use the FPU if you have unfitted. So basically it uses the OS math libs. So if you have a floating point unit, it will use that. If you don't, the CPU will do your floating point. And floating point maths is very slow without an FPU. So you would only use a floating point number, a .f number, if you really, really, really need to. And then Blitz has a .string, which is you can do .s. So you can do it that way, and you can do the $sign string. Both the same thing. Okay, so so that's why we're using result.l there and ev.l, because they need to be long variables, because the OS is writing to them. And just say the OS decides that it's a big long value, which it absolutely legitimately could be, even though usually it's not. It will write 4 bytes of a result to that, even regardless of what type you tell. So if you tell it that it's a byte, that means it'll overwrite 3 bytes of the next variable in your memory, or whatever it happens to be next to in the memory. So 3 bytes isn't much and it's the kind of thing that'll cause weird glitches that are really hard to see rather than an outright crash. Well, but it could cause a crash. So yeah, you always make sure you have the right variable type. Anyways, yeah, so they're the kind of the basics of Blitz variables. Now, something I wanted to show you as well. So we had a problem earlier, and we had at least one crash because I had set a tag with half, or I had I tried to set half a tag, and basically it had assumed that I had given it a variable with the name 0. So without, normally in Blitz, it's like a lot of other basics, you can do so that will print 0 because it says, okay, you're setting up a new variable and using it. So unlike C, where you'd have to declare it, or you get all sorts of compiler warnings, implicit declaration and stuff like that, Blitz, it's perfectly legitimate to do an implicit declaration. Now, with Amiga Blitz 3, you can control that. And I usually would, because that would have caught that error that we had earlier with the half-defined tag. So we do... so the optimize command gives you... nope. Syntax command gives you 3 options. So variables need declaration, implicit declaration, and I don't know what the third one is. Oh yeah, type check. Oh yeah, it'll give you... It'll also highlight casting errors. Okay, so if we do syntax, we can see here. So bit 0, variables need declaration. So if we set that, I like to use the implicit declaration where you have to set the type, and that would give us an error if we try to compile that code. So see my variable there, we're just saying, we're just sort of creating it on the fly, and we say must be declared before usage. So now at least we know we can still do an inline declaration, but we have to give it a type. And now it will have printed 0. So we've given it a type there, just to satisfy the compiler. But Blitz 2 doesn't have that function. So if you add the syntax command to Blitz 2, it'll give you an error because it doesn't recognize it. But it's nice, and I usually do switch it on because it would have caught that bug earlier that crashed. So it's just one of those things that kind of like makes things a little bit, makes things a bit more survivable. Okay, my variable will be, so we don't need that anymore. Let's get rid of that. Now, so we've got our button group, we've got our tab cycling. Oh, when you're tab cycling with the buttons, you can, is it press enter? Oh yeah, you press enter to activate them. And you can see there, it's doing the exact same thing as if you clicked on it. Oh yeah, I forgot we actually added actions. So we put random text in there. We go to there, we get our text there, and we go to reset. Yeah, all working. Oh yeah, there's another thing you get for free is if you press escape, it will close the window. That can be switched off as well, because that might not be the behavior you want. In fact, it quite often wouldn't be. But yeah, so there we go. Now, what was next? An image. Yes, an image. This is where things get crashy, I think. So, image. Right. Okay, so now here's the thing. And when I was just looking at this earlier, the problem is that the built-in commands in Blitz load an image in a certain format. The format is, actually, you see this definition browser. This is great. We can look at all the structs that we have available to us based on our current resident file. So you can see they're all.res. So we can see that the loads of MUI stuff, MUI stuff there. That's great. So if we want to look at a bitmap, we can see our bitmap. These are the OS definitions. So we can go into the bit double click it to go in there, and we can see that here's our here's the bitmap struct, and that's the same in C and all that kind of stuff. So we can use the very same definitions, and makes it quite easy to translate code. MUI is looking for bitmaps in this format. Unfortunately, Blitz uses a different internal format, so we have to kind of translate on the fly, and that's a pain, and I'm not even gonna, I don't know. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you I'm pretty sure that's the right one. Blitz Basic 2 object types.res. Yeah, also puts in structs for all the internal object types, which is cool because you can poke away at them. I think we need to compile it to get it to reset that list. Let's see. So we should have 2 bitmap definitions now. Do we? Yeah, so we've got one here, which is lowercase. Oh, why you do that? That's annoying. So we've got the capital. The one with the capital B is the OS definition. And the one with the lowercase b is the Blitz internal definition. You can see the 2 objects are totally different and not compatible, which is a pain. So when you load an object like a bitmap in Blitz, you can't really you have to do some manual translation, and you have to also load the palette object separately and do some translation there as well. So basically what I'm saying is this is a bit of a pain, and I'm going to say just don't bother doing it in Blitz 2. Now, Amiga Blitz 3, on the other hand, comes with a load of includes, which are basically, you know, sort of extra bits of code that, in general, have some pretty good OS wrappers on them. And I'll show you why it's such a good thing now in a second. So we're going to add it's kind of similar syntax to C. So we include image.include .ab3. Now that file in Amiga Blitz 3, it knows where to find that file. In Blitz 2, I think you'll have to do blitzlibs, or you'll have to give it a full path. But Blitz doesn't have these includes anyway, so you could maybe backport them to Blitz 2. But basically, these things are awesome. You can load them in and see the code and see what they do. The help files in Amiga Blitz 3 also has all the stuff, like all the include stuff. So image.include, and you can see here all the functions that it has. Now what is wonderful about these is they're wrappers for the OS, so you can do things like load an image with data types, and it's just, you kind of get that for free. It also supports graphics cards and does all that kind of cool stuff, basically because it's using the OS, and if the OS is capable of extra stuff, then you get that advantage in your code. Whereas if you load a Blitz object, it's limited to whatever was hard coded into Blitz back in the day. So we're going to ignore our Blitz bitmap objects, and we're not going to bother with that in Blitz 2, and I'm just going to say just use Amiga Blitz 3 for projects like this, or where you need to, or if you really need to, you can look at backporting this to Blitz 2. But anyways, we're going to use the image include. And you can do an X include for exclusive include, and if you do that, it means basically if anywhere in your code the same include is called, you don't end up doubling up on the code. You know, it just makes for a mess. I think it'll give you an error if that happens anyway, but I just by habit do X include. Okay, so that gives us a whole heap of extra functions that we can call, like and they look like this. So So let me see, image load, I presume image load. All file formats, and it also supports alpha for systems that support alpha, which is pretty cool. But this will load it in the OS standard format because it's using the standard OS calls to load the file. And we can also you can also specify transparencies and things like that. So so we keep this open because that's pretty cool. So let's load, we'll load our image up here because yeah, just because we do that before, and then once the image is loaded, we can use a pointer to that image as our image. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? I like it. It's kind of a very, very lightweight HTML. We kind of do have it. It's actually, if you look at, like, there are markdown viewers and things like that, that kind of do the same thing, sort of, you know. But yeah, we don't. It is a nice thing. I really, it's one of those things I really like. And if you look at OS 3.2, they've added inline image support, which is kind of feels like a browser from 1993. But yeah, it works. It's cool. Okay, so we're gonna so we do. Now I've got predictive stuff on in this image load. We're just going to do that one. Now, unlike the commands, when you're using these functions, which are just internal functions, they're not hard coded, so they don't get automatic capitalization, and so you get an error if you get the case wrong. So image load will give you an error. So we're going to change it to image load with a capital L. Go away. And you use curly brackets instead of normal brackets for a function like this as well. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So we have to give an image ID. We're going to say this is image 0. File name is what do we say it was? saugicon.iff. Okay. Did that copy and paste? Did. Excellent stuff. What were the other parameters? And okay, so see up here where we have the parameters. So file name is a string. The image ID is a long value. Now these, see, they have an @ symbol at the start. That means they're optional. So you don't have to include them, and there will be a default that it just uses. So, but if you want, let's say, if you want to set the tolerance, you need to include a transparency value as well as the tolerance. You can't just give it a third value and hope that it gets it right, that it's the right optional parameter. So you need to tell it basically as many as up to the one that you want, and you don't have to include any more. But yeah, I'm not going to bother with that stuff. The transparency value is one thing, and that's mainly if you're going to blit the bitmap and stuff like that. Tolerance is for if you're loading an image and you're displaying it on a screen that has fewer colors. It basically kind of it's how well it maps the colors. Oh, you got them down here. Yeah. So basically, you know, how close it has to be for it to assign a pen. Dither mode has a couple of different ditherings for you know, if you don't have the exact color available. And yeah, I don't know what dither threshold is, but I guess it's probably something similar to the tolerance there. Okay. Oh, and this actually returns a result, so we have to check if the image was loaded. Okay, so we will do if image load we won't bother continuing because we don't want to set up an image pointing to a null thing, because we won't have a pointer to the image if it doesn't get loaded. And if you set up a gadget that points to 0, bad things happen. The Amiga is especially what would you say, crash happy when you start pointing things at 0 and using 0 pointers. It's, yeah, 0 is a special area and you don't touch it. Okay, so we will say, oh, this is a nice this is a nice little function, which is one of the third-party libraries, and it just opens a requester. And it's just the x equals a request, and you give it the title, you give it the message, and you give it the buttons. And so you just give it one button, but you can give it a second button by putting a little pipe, and you can give it as many buttons as you want, and it will return the value based on that. So the first, the rightmost button always returns 0, and then the first button returns 1, the second button returns 2, the third button returns 3, and so on. So you can give as many buttons as you want, and then we'll end the program there so that we don't continue if the image can't be found. Now, it's not going to be found, I'm nearly sure, and I'll tell you why after. Oh. What did I do? Okay, this... yeah, so new syntax is... what we're going to do is we're going to do that. We're going to add that in there. Character in the line. Oh, we can't. Fine. You need new syntax mode for that. Ah. Well, optimize 5 is there. Okay. Right, optimize is another one of these commands like syntax that was added in Amiga Blitz 3. Hey, Scottish, how are you? Welcome along. We're doing some heavy duty stuff here. We're making a little program, system friendly stuff with MUI, and we're fumbling our way through it. We've had 2 crashes already, as you can see with my my death counter there. There you go. But yeah, see, I'm not Scottish, but I'm living in Glasgow, so I'm an honorary Scot, if you like. And but yeah, so we yeah, we do get a couple of people in, a couple of locals in, if you like. But yeah, so the syntax command is, we said about that earlier. That's setting, you know, whether variables need to be declared. The optimize command is also controls the compiler and was added in Blitz and in Amiga Blitz 3, and that controls things like whether you need to use an FPU or not. Now, you probably don't want to bother with that yet, like integer and FPU optimizations, but we're going to switch on optimize 4, which lets it use a different set of syntax and gives it some extra tricks like casting strings to longs. Like you can use a 4-character string and you can cast it to a 32-bit integer. There are a few neat little tricks you can do like that, and that include must do that. Variables must be declared. Yes, of course, this is what I was talking about. So we'd give that an x dot l. Oh. That should not be happening. I don't know what's happened there. Previous case too large. Something has happened. We haven't deleted a line here, have we? Image.include. .ab3. Let's see if this works by itself.
Oh dear.
Indeed. Oh dear. Well, let's see. This is something like that. And it's working just fine. Most of the includes, I should have said as well, when you use an include, you also get usually built-in demo programs. This is it just demonstrating and splitting functions. Now, don't let that fool you. It's a lot slower than that on real hardware, or you know, on the native chipset. You're getting the combination of emulation and a graphics card there, which kind of just makes all this a lot easier. But why is it not letting me compile this one? Previous case block, line 5. Why? Oh. This is a big include, but it compiled there just fine. Hum. Hummany. Well, that's just great. Let me see. Do I have any buffers I can change? Stack size. Oh, we can try. Oh, no. Previous case block too large. I'm saying line 5 because yeah, the include is on line 5. Image.include at AB3. What is going on? So this is the include. What am I missing here? Use. And it runs fine, runs absolutely fine from there. Why you do this? Actually, it looks pretty in 32-bit. Some nice alphas there. I don't know what to do here, but I don't think we're going to get our image in our thing. Now, I have used this before. What am I missing? Is there something else I need to do? I don't have to do something silly like that, do I? No, it's doing the same thing. Let me have a look at some other code of mine. Other projects. What did I do? AmiTunes uses images. Yay, more stuff. This is quite old code, so I apologize in advance. This is probably full of random numbers and stuff. Image.include. Let's see if this works. That's our old friend that I was talking about earlier. This code is so old that it predates that. You're gonna do this for everything, aren't you, you bastard? Is that it? That should be it. Max playlists. Weird things are happening here. I'm not trying to declare anything there. Why is it doing that? Possible. Okay, variables constants already declared. Okay. Playlist names. Yeah, yeah. Some of this stuff. I was just saying earlier about how good the Blitz debugger is, but it has its limits. It's sometimes quite cryptic in what it tells you. So what's that saying? Max. So variables constant already declared. Hey, it works. No prizes for what this is trying to rip off, but however, it does have an image.
Excellent.
So, yeah, okay. So this was, this kind of mostly works, I think. That's just out of interest. I'm going to, well, let's see. Well, let's see if it does work. I don't know if I have any music on here. Do I? I do. I have a couple of tunes. So let's see if it works. Let's see if it still works. I can't remember what state this was in when I last touched it. No, it doesn't work. Import song. Yeah, no. Ooh. Oh, it works. Sort of. I thought I had done the dragging stuff, but anyways, I didn't. There we go. It's like an iTunes clone for the Amiga. Anyways, this is what I was here for, is the code that does this. I never released it because I never finished it. Which is terrible. 2011. Ah, Jesus. I have a GadTools version of it that I did release, but it's quite specific to... yeah. Yeah, not that long ago. But not that long ago in Amiga terms. But yeah, it's kind of... It was something that I got to a bit where the code was really, really awkward, and there was something that just wouldn't really work for me, and... It was quite complex stuff. I can't remember what it was, but it just wasn't working the way I wanted it to, and it was kind of like, oh no, I can't bother. But it's using the it does support cover art, but I just don't have any. It's using the image thing there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the track title window. Code, cancel that. That's a hell of a debug output. Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that would have ended well for them, wouldn't it? Absolutely stomped into the ground. Oh. So. Fine. Album cover. Art window. Let's see. Art window. I probably could have guessed that. So here's our artwork. How do we load the artwork? Image load. All the images just loaded fine. Why? Why? Why is it include not working for me here, but it's working there? image.include.ab3. That is right, isn't it? Image.include bb2. Now, that's bb2 is the extension of the old ones. I hope that's not it. Which would suggest that there are two different ones on my system, and I don't know where they are. No, it's not. It does normally sort of automatically translate those file endings. What is going on? This is going to annoy me. Previous case block. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. There's no previous case block here, and this monstrosity of spaghetti code is able to compile fine. Yeah. Good night, Ian. Take care. Thanks for joining in, and yeah, we'll see you again soon, or sometime. Okay. You know what? I'm going to have to abandon this image thing, I think, because this should be working. I don't know what's going on here. It's just not playing ball. The image include itself is there. That's working. We've proven that. I'm missing something stupid. This code is working other than the image include. So it'll tell me it's procedure not found there, but we can just... That's working. If we do the include... Compiler... Oh, it makes me grumpy. Let me see, what am I missing here? Where are the image includes here? They're after. This shouldn't be the order of that, should it? Optimize 7. Ooh, why am I using Optimize 7? It's like everything. FPU and all. That also shouldn't be the problem, but we can try it. Oh, you bastard. There you go. Looks like it needs an FPU or something. There's something funky like that. So, so there we go. So now it will compile. We haven't loaded our file, our image yet because we disabled that. Don't know why it's done that. Maybe we can get away with integer optimization, which I think is 020 only. Yeah. Why is that the case? Now, you guys saw that too. I put it back to optimize 4. And now it's compiling. What the fuck? Okay, well, it's fixed it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Ye gods. Anyway. Okay. Now it's back. Yeah. Let's see if we can make that go away. Oh, that's frustrating. So there's something in the code, and yeah, there's something funky there going on, and it's okay. Well, look, we'll just go with it. Optimize 7. This will need an FPU, and it's probably I don't know, some black art in the thing. That probably explains why I have it turned on here as well. Anyways, there we go. So now, just for the sake of this, we'll get it working anyway. So it is going to tell us. It's not going to tell us that it can't find the image because it found the image somehow. If we put that in. Yeah, okay. So, okay, it's giving extra error messages. Don't worry about that. The include itself gives error messages. You can turn that off. But this is the requester that I was talking about. So we've added 2 buttons, quit and also quit. And I have a program that pretties up the requesters, but generally that's a standard system requester. And the request function there is a very, very easy way of calling them to get some input or just to give a message saying, I can't do this, off I go. But okay, so now what we have done now is we've loaded that image, which is actually loading fine. I was expecting that to fail, and the reason for that being that it doesn't have a path associated with it, so it's loading it from a relative path. Now, on Blitz 2, if you're loading any files, the path is basically the Blitz 2 path, not the path of your source code. I think that might have changed with Amiga Blitz 3, but you can basically in Blitz 2 you can set the path. Let's see, loads of stuff everywhere. I miss my high resolution screens. If we go into the compiler settings, oh no, it is in change dir. So this is how you tell it the working directory. So when you're looking for a relative path for your executable, you know, as in if you don't give it a path at all, it will assume it's in the same location as the executable itself. So for this, in Blitz 2, you set the directory by using this function. In Amiga Blitz 3, you set it by compiling. It doesn't have that option, so you set it by compiling the executable itself. So you go to create executable. Don't compile into your code, because that is code is worst nightmare. So it's dangerous clicking on the file name like that. But anyways, so this is going to be our executable file, and once you do that, that sets where the working directory is for when you run it from here. Obviously, when you run the actual executable from Workbench or from the Amiga DOS prompt, it will take whatever path it's in. But for testing purposes, when we're running it in the debugger, that's how you set the path for that. Okay, so now we've loaded this into memory, this file. It has been loaded with the data type system. Hey, Prince Faze, welcome along. Good evening to you. And yeah, welcome along. We've been wrestling a bit today. You'll see the crash counter is actually in use this week. And yeah, we've been wrestling with Blitz a bit. It's been fighting me, let's say. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We're loading an image, and we're going to try and use that in our interface. So we've got our little image loaded, and that should be in the standard OS. It's using the standard OS struct, and yeah, exactly. And you know, it probably would have been fine if I hadn't been trying to show people. You know, this is how it works. But yeah, so the image is now in memory. It's been loaded with the data type, so you can load a PNG or GIF or GIF or JPEG or whatever you want. You can load it, and it will automatically dither it down. It'll do all the stuff it needs to there, and that's quite cool if and when you get the image include to actually work. So, but yeah, it's working now, and it is loading the image in. So what we will do is, the next thing we have to do is throw that bitmap into our interface. So our interface looks like this. So what we'll do is we'll stick it in above here. Okay, put a little logo here in this space here. So that is in our vertical group. So we go down to our vertical group is here. So we've got our text here. We're going to add a new object here. Oh, first off, we'll define it. Give it an include string box. So we'll give it a or call it image. That's 9. And here's where it gets slightly funky because we have to do so we have to create we have to go outside the standard Blitz commands now, and we have to use MUI or MUI directly. Okay, so where were we going to put that? So we got our button group, the vertical group here. Let's put it here. So I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah. So we'll give this, and we will give it a class, I think is it's bitmap.mui. Let's go and check on my other code just quickly. Bitmap.mui with a capital B. Okay, oh yeah, and we have to get the pointer to the bitmap object. Oh yeah, so here, yes. So first thing we need to do actually is get our pointer to the bitmap. So we've loaded it. So now at this point we know the bitmap is loaded, and we'll get our pointer. So we're going to call it it's an actual C style pointer for this one, and we're going to use the struct that we saw earlier. Now it's all hidden away behind this. Where are our structs? Load our structs again. Parent there. So if we look here, we can see the OS version has a capital B, and we're going to go in there. So it's we're going to say image bitmap with a capital B, because if it's a lowercase b, it will be the Blitz internal version, and we don't want that because it's totally wrong for what we're doing, and MUI will probably fall on its arse if we use that. So so image.bitmap equals, and then basically when you load an image with image.load, the internal, basically when you're giving it an ID, you're actually just giving it an array address or an array index, and that array is called image.dat, and the pointer or the field in there is bitmap pointer. Okay, so equals, so it's an image ID 0. And what was it? Pointer data? Bitmap pointer. And that should be it. So that contains the address of the bitmap, and that address is this. It will point to this OS struct inside there. So now we have our image loaded. We have a pointer to it, and hey, ProtonFig, welcome along. Hey, welcome in. Welcome in. Oh, getting all the coders in tonight. I don't know if you've just joined us, but I am doing some system-friendly Blitz coding, and we're doing a MUI interface. Actually, this is the idea for this is to do with Zuperdan's tool jam, which is there in the chat there, and this is like a jam for creating tools rather than games for the Amiga, and it's not Blitz specific, but I just decided to do some system friendly Blitz stuff because, you know, a lot of people associate it with games, and I also code a lot of tools with it, and it has built-in support for MUI, so to an extent, but yeah, so it's an alternative way of doing things. Okay, so we've got our new bitmap object, and we're going to give it some tags. So bitmap with a capital B, didn't we say? Yes. And our tag list is basically the address for the image. So if we go to our autodocs, sorry, you can't see this, but if we go to our autodocs and we look at the we're looking for the tag that we used, but I also used it in here, didn't I? It's that one. Bitmap. and we give it the pointer. So the attribute is the bitmap. So it's not actually the image class. We're using the bitmap class, sorry. So yeah, bitmap, and that has bitmap width and bitmap height that you can set as well, and that has all the precision and remapping and stuff like that you can do. But that should be taken care of, I think, by the include already. Let us have a look anyway. New object. Okay, so we've created our bitmap object with the pointer to our bitmap data that we've loaded. Let's save that, and we will I will add that before the text, on top of the text, instead of the vspace. We'll take out the vspace one and we put it there. Now, fingers crossed, this is where things get funky. Oh, boo-oo. Bitmap. Image type not found. Image.bitmap. Now, .bitmap is the capital B? Capital B, capital M. Excellent. Ay. Oh, I copy and pasted it. It's called image, isn't it? Okay. No image, but no crash. Okay. Why? What's happened here? Is it because we didn't set the width and height? Let's just say it's 64. Yeah, 64 by 64. No. And it's treating it like add objects. Vertical group image is there. What am I missing here? Let's see. New object and bitmap width. Yeah, don't mind the rest of that stuff. It just sets the width and height. And then, oh, those comments look a bit funny. Okay, so that's not the actual one that we were looking at, but we'll go previous next. Let's find out where this one, let's say, height 50. Fixed width and fixed height are set. No, next and next. MUI. Bin width, height. Again, that seems to be fine. Let me see. New object. Oh, 45. I don't choose V group. What am I missing here? Bitmap width, bitmap height. That's weird. Today is definitely not my day. what's going on here? Why are we not getting an image? Well, probably over to the left, to be honest, but okay, we're calling the object image. Uh-oh, what have I... What? Oh, about actually doing an image? Yeah. It's all good. So we're adding to the main group, the vertical group, we've added the image class, the bitmap class object image. It doesn't capitalize. Let's see if it's just making a 1 pixel sized image or something stupid like that. You're not really supposed to use, well, it's not that you're not supposed to, but they don't really, they frown upon using that property, which sort of gives a hard pixel size for an object. For a few reasons, and this is one of them. It's because it's after squishing it makes the object 64 wide. So basically, because the window was a little bit wider than 64, it means I can't. It's reduced to or restricted to the minimum, and the space above, space up here, isn't changing height either. So the object is there. It's just not loading the image properly, or it's just not doing something with the image. What's going on? We're loading our image. Image.bitmap. Image.0. Is it something to do with the 0 ID? I can't imagine that's it, but we changed the ID to 1. We got our bitmap pointer is there. That's it. Right type? No. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, that's annoying. So, let's see. What are we missing here? Add tags there. New object. That does the fixed width and fixed height before. Before it declares the object, so maybe that's the story. But still, it should display the image. Okay, the autodoc says you have to specify the width and height, so I wonder if the width and height are wrong. Let's see. Where is my image? So I'm gonna fall back to the Blitz commands that do the image loading. Let's see. So it's going to load in the shape and get some properties of it. 86 by 82. So let's try that then. 86, 82. These don't make any sense here, so let's get rid of that and move it up. And '86, '82. Let's have a look. Oh. Oops. Image. Oh, hold on a second. Oh no, that's right. Yeah, it's fine. No. Why? Why? Well, that's very annoying, isn't it? What the hell am I missing here? We ran this. And we can see it works. I'm just going to run this again just because I can't actually write this code. Look there. Loading an image. Loading an image. Loading an image. Doesn't do anything special. Fixes the height, fixes the width. Creates the class custom object bitmap or a class bitmap.MUI. The rest is nonsense. The group is a fixed width. That shouldn't be needed, surely. And it just adds it there. Creating preferences window, creating track info window. Where's the album art window? Creating artwork window. Artwork. Because all that's in that is just a bitmap. So bitmap to MUI, bitmap, width, height 150. Fixed width, fixed height. And they're declared on the same line there. Those tags are added on the same line. Gives it a frame, which is fine. Gives it a nice frame, makes it look like a button. Makes a single group. God. Don't know. So what I'm going to do is, just to see if it's because of the width of things, I'm going to leave out the other objects. By doing this. So we'll keep our original line and we'll just have the the image is the first item anyway. So we can just do that. So we should just have nothing but the image, which is what we have, but no image. Why is that? Why? What's wrong with the image include? Are we even getting the image? Maybe we're not. Maybe it's like the bitmap is blank. we do anything else here other than... Let's just make sure my image actually works. Where am I? Stream 2. Sorry, this is all getting all very messy. Now, it's working. The image is there. It seems to be fine. That's in the standard ILBM one. Standard IFF image. Like, you know, it's trying to load it with data types. They should have absolutely no problem there, because multi-view can see it. That's bonkers. Yeah, well, the image is okay, yeah. So it doesn't really tell me where the problem is here. So I think we're successfully loading it into RAM because we're not getting our error here. Let me see. Should give us our memory values. 0. Okay, well, that would explain things. Where are we getting a null pointer here? Image dot. Yeah, it's definitely 0. Why isn't it loading it? But it's not giving any errors. Image dot. Image dot include. That's using image data, isn't it? Oh, where's my find window? There it is. Image dot. Shared image dot, yeah. No, never use image dot directly, okay? See, here we go. As image change in the future. Okay. Well, what I need is the pointer to the bitmap. So this is how I've done it before, but there's that bitmap pointer. Why is bitmap pointer 0? Cheers, Scottish. Oh, I'll see you at the weekend. Yeah, we'll see you there on Saturday. We're having a little Scottish Amiga meetup on Saturday afternoon, if anyone happens to be within shouting distance of Glasgow. But yeah, it'd be interesting and change of venue. We'll actually have a bar there, so we'll see how that goes. Could be an absolute mess, but hopefully not. But yeah, it'll be good. So see you then, and good night. Yeah, half tempted to just call it a night myself. Oh yeah. That's yeah. I just hope it's worth your while now. But yeah. Oh, And if you're, yeah, if only things had worked out, you could have popped over. Ah. Oh dear. Well, fingers crossed, and fingers crossed it gets you back home then as well on Sunday. So something about how the image is being loaded means it's not loading the bitmap pointer, or it's not giving a bitmap pointer. So where do I get the bitmap image from? So let's have a look at the image include. Documentation. Oh. Image. And let's see, get. Now we need to find out how to get our bitmap from there. I don't have to create a bitmap beforehand, do I? Bet you that's it. Image init bitmap. Probably. Let's see. Oh my god. If that's what it was now. Init bitmap. Fuck's sake. Oh! Anyways. Fucking hell. Anyways, there you go. That's how you add an image. This is, yeah. And it's the kind of thing I probably would have figured out in 5 minutes if I wasn't trying to explain around. But, you know, that's what happens, you know. That's what happens. Now let's get rid of all this shite. Image load. Then we create a bitmap from the image. So the image is an image object that we've loaded. An Amiga Blitz 3 object. Then we create a bitmap based off that object. And we add it so we can add back in all our gadgets. And there we go. It works. Now, what's happening here, it's limiting the size because we've fixed the width and the height of it. So what we'll do is we'll get rid of those tags. The fixed width, fixed height. And see, we should be able to stretch the object, although I think the object will float. Yeah, it's going to float in a fixed point, you see. So, at least the class is resizing. So what we can do is we can set up another horizontal group with a variable space each side, and that would let the image sort of float in the middle there, and that's how things would be done. So what we'll do is we will yeah, let's neaten this up, and then we can probably call it a night, I think. I'm just going to do a vspace 3 and then so a couple of horizontal spaces, you can kind of guess what they do. And we've got an image group, unlucky number 13. So instead of adding where's there? Instead of having image, we'll add the image group, and we put one above it. We need to create our other spaces. 3, and these are horizontal spaces. Oops. Horizontal space, H space, H space. Okay, so now we've got 3 vertical spaces, 2 horizontal spaces, and we're going to make a new group for our image. We'll make our group here. Oh, we haven't made our spaces yet. So what I'm actually going to do is just for neatness, move that down. No, move all these up to the very top. Because these are all to do with this group. And then we create this object. So we're going to create a horizontal group. Call it image group. We are going to put in there horizontal space 1, our image, and horizontal space 2. And that should be our image floating in the middle. Although it's squishy. Okay, did we get the size wrong? I'm going to take out those size tags and just see what happens. See if it lets us... Oh no, it said we did have to use them, didn't it? It was 86 and 82, wasn't it? We deleted that code now. Let's just make it bigger anyway. 86 and 90. Oh. Ah, okay. So what's happening is because it's a resizable object, the spacing here is equal. So all 3 are equal. And it's the same with the width. So the width of this object, if you put a border around it, you'll probably find it's 1/3 of the width of the window because it's weighted the same as the empty spaces. What we'll do is we'll just for the laugh, we'll put a border around it. And what are we going to call it? What type of... we'll just use the same one. Oh, that should be an underscore. Right. Enjoy, Andrew. Thanks very much for dropping in. Thank you. And yeah, oh God, yeah. I'm impressed with your dedication. Talk to you soon. Talk to you Saturday. Oh no, you won't be there on Saturday, but I will talk to you soon anyway. So you see what I mean? We've got our image area there is the same width as the 2 spaces either side. So what we should do is do the fixed width again. So if we put these back, that should make it the correct size all the time. There we go. And breathe. That was a painful experience, but there you go. You see, now once you fix the width, generally regarded as something you shouldn't do, but the bitmap, I suppose, is an exceptional case where you want it to. So you can see that the vertical size, which is here, or the vertical space, which are spaces which are here and here, are the same size, and they are balancing out. This is keeping the same a consistent height, and then this either side are balancing out as well to keep this right in the middle. So that's an image in there, and our window still works, and we can tab around. So that will do. I think that will do. I've had enough hassle from Blitz. It has been fighting me all day, so I think I might call it a night. Although, well, is there anything else that anyone wanted to see? I know there's I think most people have abandoned all hope at this point. But anything else that you guys wanted to see or questions you had? Let me think. What else is there? Blitz or MUI wise, that would be a quick one to do. Probably nothing because MUI hates me, or Blitz hates me at the moment. Oh yeah, we don't need this stuff. Okay, well, yeah, let me see. Yeah, no, you're very welcome, and thank you for coming along and for putting up with it for so long, for all the faff and all the hassle. Let me see, what else is there just quickly that might be useful? I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but let me think. There was something I did notice there just a little moment ago in this one, and it is escape codes. These are great. So MUI has these escape codes that you can use for formatting the text. Yeah, that didn't work. And that is one there. It's so to add it in Blitz, it's so if you do something like that, that centers it. But all these codes are in the text auto docs for Blitz or for MUI. Let me see the text object. Let's see what kind of quick fun stuff we can do with that. Text. So if we do B, so if you look at this code that I've just put in here, it's //1B. That's the actual Blitz escape code that lets you put in a code like this. So C is for center, but we'll put in a B there for bold. And we should get, now we get bold there, which is quite handy. It's you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. And that kind of, you know, you can do that with the same thing with the button group text, kind of build things in line. You can put in the middle, like that. Which is kind of cool. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with that. There's some basic formatting things, you know, including inserting symbols, like, you know, that MUI has these standard disk symbols and arrows and things like that. You can insert them. You can insert yeah, you can do yeah. Like that, puts it in italics. Just to really plead with the user. But yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff like that, which is quite cool. And also do like it understands new line as well. So do something like that. Oh no, we have to double escape that because Blitz is interpreting it funny. And you can do that. So yeah, there's some stuff there. It's worth looking at the text, the text object autodoc in MUI. It has some cool stuff in there that you can do like that. But yeah, all that stuff kind of copies over. It's just a matter of slightly rejigging it to work in Blitz. But yeah, I guess that will do for now. Oh, the one more thing I can do here is where was it? Maybe it was in here, wasn't it? Maybe object. Frame image button. Oh yeah, that was the one. So we can set the frame image button. Where are we? Sorry, not that one. That one. Just to make it look a little bit different. Maybe image button. So the frame style we applied to that image was a group. If we change that to image button, you can see we can apply a different style to the thing, and now it looks like a raised button. And there are a couple of other things like that. So I think I will leave it there. What I'll do is I'll post this code on the Blitz Basic Discord as well at some point. Yeah. And but yeah, there we go. Thank you very much for calling in. Thanks everyone. Yeah, sorry about the. Sorry, I was such a pig. Yeah, I'm quite rusty at this, so my apologies. And like I said, yeah, if I wasn't trying to explain things in my head as well, I probably would have figured it out in 5 minutes, or in less. Anyways, there you go. I will leave it there. Is there someone to raid? I don't know who's left to look at. We'll give Hazemaker 64 a quick raid. You know, there's only a couple of us left, but sure, we'll pop in for a minute and see what's going on there. Okay. Oh, George, you did. I'm literally just about to wander off. Sorry, George. I've been doing some Blitz coding. We'll just fire it up here. We've been doing just some MUI stuff with Blitz, and we've got a window that can be resized. It has a couple of gadgets that do things, and you can get the text. It does tab completion. It'll read the text. You can reset the text, and this doesn't do anything, but we loaded in a logo just to show that. And that was a pig because I just couldn't get it working, and I'd forgotten to do something. And yeah, there's going to be a big lull in the middle of that recording. Sorry about that. But where I'm just tearing my hair out trying to get the image loading to work, and it was a stupid thing that I forgot. But anyways, let's fast forward over all that, and it's probably about 10 minutes of content there that's actually useful. But yeah, there you go. That's it does look pretty. Once we got there, it does look pretty, and yeah, thanks to MUI for that. But yeah, it does work quite well once you get it going, and once you wrestle it into submission. But listen, thanks very much. I'm going to go and raid. Who did I say? Oh yeah, I'm going to raid Hazemaker 64, who's probably doing some coding. Yeah. No, not at all. Thanks for dropping in, and sure, I'll probably do another one of these at some point, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more cooperative. But anyways, listen, take care, guys, and good night. And oh, Hazemaker is actually looking at some magazines. Let's give that a go. Cool. Okay, where's my thingy? Yeah. Right. Good night, guys, and talk to you soon.
is Robin Hood, Ian. Mapped by Paul Howard and the Masked Mapper, drawn by Yvonne Priest. Oh no, I'll have to set up the SID for that one. I haven't played this for a while. Hey, Prince Phase. Welcome in. Good to see you. Thanks. Welcome, Walker Ogre. What were you playing tonight, Dayless? How was the stream? No, that it's not a decent machine, Mitch. This is an Atari ST. I think they're saying if you give them £260, they'll take your Atari ST away for you. I think that's the deal there. The Thalamus Star moves away from Hawkeye and gives us an Armalite news article advertisement this time. Hey Moonbeam Twitch. Good evening, Moonbeam. Yeah, it's a rip-off at 260, Moonbeam. Hunter's Moon tips here that don't look like pokes. This is a tip I discovered by accident ages ago, but seeing as... Sorry, guys. Sorry for waking anyone. Just nodding off there. Hey, Ed Horse. Good evening. I'm just nearing the end of the Zap raid. This is a tip I discovered by accident ages ago, but seeing as Trevor Fisher of Manchester has just written in with the same idea, I thought my light had been too long under a bushel. As soon as you run into a S'mores shot or a worker cell and your ship starts to explode, quickly press run stop and push up to access the menu. Go straight to player 1 and press fire. And now if you were quick enough in calling up the menu, you'll be back in the game with an undamaged ship. The only problem is that the screen under your ship must be clear, so if a worker has laid some spore over your position, the cheat won't work. It takes some practice, but once you mastered, it's really useful for saving lives. That